We're going to see how complex a media company automatically adds products to articles using AI, around 60 lines of code, and no added infrastructure. So, editors publish an article, the most relevant products are surfaced. Complex sells more, they don't need to do more. In fact, they're doing less because of this automation. I'm joined by Anthony to tell the story. He's the director of engineering at Complex. Anthony, thank you so much for joining and taking the time to share this workflow.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much for having me. Excited to present one little use case that we put together to solve a major problem that we were having.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Well, I didn't give Complex a proper introduction. I didn't want to butcher it. I mean, I said you're a media company, but you're really so much more than that. So, in your own words, can you just like share high level what Complex is?
So yeah, Complex is like I said, a media company. We've been around since 2004, so a little over 20 years. Celebrated our 21st anniversary. But yeah, originally we started off as a print magazine. It was started by Mark Echo, the famous clothing designer who started Echo Unlimited. And yeah, I mean, originating from like the magazine days, it was always kind of like about convergence culture. If we were pretty famous for mixing artists on our magazine covers, and whether it's an actor or a rapper or Tony Hawk and some other person like opposite from a skateboarder, we were always just about like blurring the lines between like what pop culture really is. Then eventually that grew into a website and then a whole network of websites. And now, yeah, in our latest iteration, we're still doing video pretty heavily, and now we're also a marketplace. So we have, you know, a ton of clothing products, ton of accessories, sneakers, you name it, we probably carry it. But yeah, and ever since our acquisition last year and like the pivot to kind of commerce, we've been trying to figure out how we can get better at merchandising products into articles and just across the site in general.
Awesome. So, from blurring the lines of magazine covers to now commerce and articles and just all of the media that you guys are outputting, you guys are always staying ahead of the curve. Really cool to see. So, I have a bit of an agenda laid out here. We don't need to follow it to a T, but just to kind of set expectations of what we're going to be going over. First, my understanding is you have an architectural overview you can share just to give us like a high level overview of how things move around, where data is stored, stuff like that. Then we could zoom in on the problem that you were solving with this automation. So, how editors were doing this or not doing it at all. And then we can look at the building block of this automation. So, like a code snippet, for example. After that, we can look at a live demo so we can see when you click publish, the products are automatically populated. And then after that, the outcome, like how this is help the business, time save, things like that. Oh, and there's actually one thing I didn't put on here at the end. I'll have a question for you, and I think this is a question I was actually asked in one of my interviews at Sanity. So we'll see how you respond to that, but I know you'll crush it. So does this look good?
Yeah, yeah, this sounds great.
Cool. Well, if you want to lead us off by going over the architectural overview, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Let me share my screen. This is our current high level architecture. But basically, over here on the right hand side, you got Sanity. We kind of call it our content operating system because every day we kind of find ourselves adding more and more uh, things and just into it to be managed. So I know last year when we migrated, we kind of migrated all of our article data, and that was around like I think like 400,000 articles. So like that's where we started off at, and then we've kind of just been, building more and more Insanity. So out of the box, our content is managed, how different modules and things are curated on the site with articles. Um, we also built some like pretty custom integrations where we do a lot of our auto posting to social. So we have like a whole an administration kind of social schedule configuration screen. And then yeah, shortly after we migrated all of our article data, we then launched our marketplace, our Shopify store. And again, I think out of the box, that kind of, Sanity provided that integration just with the Sanity Shopify Connect plugin. So that allowed us to sync all of our Shopify products into Sanity, and then allowed us to kind of like, again, merchandise them and start including them in articles and in different placements around the website. Um, I mean, yeah, I think this also integrates with our video platform, JW. So that's how we can kind of associate videos with articles. All of our image asset management actually is handled by Cloudinary right now. There's definitely some talks to whether we migrate that into the new asset library that Sanity just launched. And then, yeah, I think we also kind of just plug into all of our other services. So, you know, we generate an XML feed that actually gets distributed to a syndication partner that kind of syndicates all of our content to other platforms like Apple News, Yahoo, Microsoft. Um, I think, using Sanity webhooks, we're also integrated with like social platforms. So we heavily use Zapier for a lot of automation. And then that plugs into Buffer to be able to publish to like, I think, Threads and Twitter and some other social platforms. And yeah, I think everything kind of like ties nicely together on the front end. Like the main content application is just a Next.js app that we host ourselves on AWS. We use like Fastly for our CDN, and then the marketplace and the shop are hosted under like our /shop route, and that's actually a Remix Hydrogen like Shopify storefront. And again, that everything is just getting pulled from Sanity. So like all the modules and how they're curated in the shop, also again controlled through Sanity. And then, yeah, I think I forgot to mention earlier, but we also do this event called ComplexCon. It's a pretty big like trade fair at the end of the year, and we're beginning to start, plugging that and into Sanity. So I think, we're kind of leveraging Sanity for pretty much everything, whether it's content, whether it's products, whether it's managing our like in-store pop-ups and experiential events. All of those kind of like originate in Sanity and then make their way onto the web.
That's awesome. That's so that gives editors just really one place that they need to work within, and then they can syndicate it to all of your different properties. And you have a mobile app too, don't you?
Yeah, actually, we just launched a mobile app literally like a couple weeks ago. And again, I think we're leveraging Sanity for a lot of the curation and like the page building. So different screens, like different modules that we support in the shop are also supported in the app. And then anybody who's in charge of, again, merchandising the website or populating and curating articles and stuff on the website they're just doing it in Sanity. So like for as much as possible, we try to leverage Sanity so that people aren't having to jump in and log into a bunch of different platforms to, manage essentially the same kind of like slots and placements.
That's a really solid overview of the architecture. I love to see how everything is getting managed in this one platform. And like when you add it on the mobile app, it's just kind of like one other asset to plug into the system. There's honestly so many different of these events that we can do together to go over like different parts of that architecture. I've got questions in other sections, but for now, can we hone in on the editing experience and look at what editors were doing when they were adding articles and why there was like a need to, add some automation here?
Totally. So yeah, I can share our studio setup. So again, yeah, based on the schema that we've kind of set up for articles, shouldn't be too unfamiliar, but essentially editors go in and kind of start plugging in headlines and aliases, subheads. Um, and once they've kind of like, completely filled out all the fields, again, it's great to have all the validation to know what they're missing. Adding lead media, adding the body. So one of the things we were kind of geared with was, you know, trying to figure out how we can weave in products more into articles. So again, we have like a merchandising team. So for some of the style articles, they would go in and kind of like add related products. For some of the news articles, like we do a lot of music coverage as well, and we sell a lot of music products. So it was kind of like a no brainer to add related music products to those articles. So before, when we first moved over to Sanity, we didn't really explore the AI assist. And then once we actually kind of like read up on it and figured out how it worked, then we were kind of more, just more jazzed on just getting it integrated to see what it could do. And yeah, so like this related product section, again, it's just tied to the stuff that's pulling from Shopify, which again is synced into Sanity automatically. So, you know, somebody could just easily go in and just reference the products by searching for them. But again, that was kind of like time consuming. So we didn't want our merchandising team to have to go jump into like every single article or find which ones were most relevant and then have to type out the products. So that's where we started trying to figure out how AI Assist could help us do that. So once we generated the embeddings indexes, so we generated embeddings indexes for our posts and lists, and then also for all the products that got synced over from Shopify. That's where we started playing around with a prompt that could figure out, like, based on the contents of the body and the headline, and maybe like whatever the article was tagged with. So, like, this one is tagged with Kylie Jenner, Nike collaboration. You know, can we leverage AI Assist to basically, you know, find related products related to those fields that it analyzed? And then if they met like a certain threshold, like automatically add them into the related product section. So again, we went from like a completely manual process of editors and merchandisers having to like go in here, click this button, type out the name of the product, and then, save it, preview it, publish it. So, all in all, maybe took an extra 5-10 minutes. Once we added AI Assist, then that drastically reduced. It was just literally the click of a button. So maybe like 1 minute tops. And then I think once we added like AI Assist, the main blocker for that was still that somebody had to actively click the AI Assist to initiate it for it to run. And you know even as easy as it was, a lot of our editors are trying to get news and things just posted quickly to the site, and because it's not a required field, sometimes it just wouldn't do it. And then, yeah, so then people have to go through the site, see which ones they forgot to click the button on, go back in. Again, just kind of like lengthening their workflow. So that's when we try to figure out, well, okay, how can we even automate just the initialization of the AI assist?
Yeah.
So once we kind of started going, or actually once we got wind that Sanity functions. So I think that was like one of the the kind of game changers for us. Like, we were leveraging the webhooks pretty heavily. I think we have like 30 different webhooks that fire for all different types of things, syncing stuff into Algolia, the Shopify sync, and then other, again, with all this syndication and things that we have plugged into third party services. So uh, it, but it still kind of felt like, you know, far away. Like, things had to make a round trip, like out of a webhook, out into the internet, and then we still kind of had to, set up the infrastructure to do the stuff once we got the webhook fired. So I think that's when we started looking into Zapier, and we started figuring out, okay, we can set up different services and lambdas to kind of like do the heavy lifting, and then that would then make a request back into Sanity. It still felt like a lot, like, kind of clunky for something that, again, if all the data already existed in Sanity, that, like, I wish there was a way that we could, just have all this, have all the pipes connected and have this automation just automatically run. Um, and yeah, once we got wind that Sanity functions was a thing, I think that was like our number one, uh, like, thing we couldn't wait for as part of the spring release. So once that came out, I think we just read the documentation and immediately jumped on, like, all right, how do we get this integrated to the studio? Because it honestly, it just made the most sense of just like, this should live, with something that's literally integrated into the studio. This should just live there and be managed there. Um, and yeah, I think with not a lot of code at all, we were able to kind of like just cook up a quick function that's like 60 or 70 lines of code, like you said, that literally just did everything that was in the prompt of, like, look at the embeddings index, pass the query terms that we're searching for, whether it's the tags or a mixture of them, and then based on the results that we get back, if they're past a certain threshold, then just automatically associate them to the related products.
I can appreciate that mindset of just like not wanting to add another service, like maintain lambdas, maintain another, connection there. Cause just like everything that you add just adds more maintenance. And I personally try to avoid that a lot. So yeah, happy to hear that it was all nicely integrated. We're going. This is like an excellent overview. I had some questions along the way. So, when you're searching for products and like when you're adding articles, I was curious about the velocity of these kind of things. Like, how many products do you guys have, and how many articles are you sending through the system a day or a month or like whatever it looks like?
So yeah, I mean, again, our marketplace team is always onboarding new brands, new vendors. We're doing collaborations with artists. So I think in the past couple months we probably added like another 5,000 products. So I think we're up to like 15,000 products in the store in general. But again, like that's today, and then in 2 weeks they could onboard, two more brands. We could do another collaboration, and that's another like 500, 1,000 products. So I think just to even be aware of all the new stuff that's coming down the pipeline is already like a task in itself.
Wow. Yeah. And like how I mean that's even hard if you know about this coming down the pipeline, but then you throw in an editor, how are you supposed to keep track of 15,000 products and know which one is, the most relevant to add to this given article?
I think that they would actually probably spend just a majority of their time looking through the shop to see like, well, what is relevant to the thing I'm writing about. So I think just even, if there wasn't already a product in mind, just trying to find one would take more time than is necessary.
Right. Right. And
And
how many times a day are you doing this? Like how many articles are they doing this for?
so I think we've been averaging about like 1,000 articles a month. So figure 30 to 40 articles a day. Um, and yeah, just again based on like the different verticals, like some are sports related, some are more music, and then for like our style, with the amount of clothing that we have in our shop, it could take a lot of different avenues of just like, all right, well, like what's the best once you actually find the related category of like, okay, this is the style article. I know I should probably add some clothing. Okay, based on how many pieces are they putting together? Just tops? Should it be a mixture of tops and bottoms? Are they putting outfits together? I think like there's a bunch of different ways you can go. And again, like just that mental like load of having to figure out like, all right, well, what is the best product to associate with this? I often get option paralysis of just like when you're presented with so many different choices and you're just like, well, I could go with this or with that. Like I think that's where we kind of wanted to start leveraging just AI and embeddings indexes and just like LLMs to figure out, all right, well, you know, maybe we don't need to make these decisions. Maybe the system that already exists in the CMS can kind of make the decision for us.
Love it. Yeah. Sometimes AI automates something that we're doing that like is that we're doing just as well as like the AI can do. It just like takes something off our plate. But I think in this case, AI is automating something that people can't do as well as the AI is going to do. I mean, searching through 15,000 products and finding the most relevant ones, um, I guess they could do it, but it would take, an incredibly long time. So yeah, this definitely seems like a natural fit to automate. Yeah, really cool setup. And I'm excited to see the different building blocks of it. I'm going to switch over and share my screen. Just look at the problem. So yeah, a lot of like 30 to 40 articles a day, 15,000 products, freelancers, employees, like trying to figure out which ones are the right ones to select. AI Assist kind of got you there, but it still required a manual button click. And so that brings us to the next evolution of this. How is this solved using functions? Can we look at like the different building blocks? I think there's the function. You mentioned the embeddings index. And how does it come together?
Sure. Yeah, I think in retrospect, like when we thought about the problem, we were like, oh yeah, this is going to take, again, just having the index and then connecting that. But I think Sandy just made it really simple to kind of get all those pieces, just what is it, scaffolded and like started. Uh, and yeah, I think in a way shorter time than we thought, we had a working version of our solution.
That's awesome. We're actually just launched something called function recipes. And this process inspired one that I think we're going to be creating so that you can scaffold it from a single command and get like this enrichment process or like send to Algolia and just get, bootstrap it without having to start from scratch.
Yeah, that's amazing because I think sometimes even just seeing the different like understanding what the different puzzle pieces are, that that would be one less thing to have to think about once you see working examples of just like how different pieces connect. That right there could kind of inspire you of like how it could how something similar could work for you or your organization.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Cool.
Um,
So embeddings
yeah,
indexes.
embeddings index. So again, you need the embeddings index to kind of do any sort of kind of like a search, and not just like a text search, because we know how well that works. So yeah, so like once you have the embeddings index, and again like all the products are automatically synced from Shopify via the Sanity Connect plugin, so that was simple. And then spinning up a new index is literally as simple as giving it a name, choosing your data set, and then adding the grok filter. So I think for us, we, for our products, we actually indexed all of them. For our posts, because we have such a large library, I think we kind of only limited it to, the past couple of years just to be able to have a somewhat slimmed down embeddings index for posts and lists. Yeah, our product index, again, I think this is our staging data set. So we only have like 1,000 products in here. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like once we did that and once the actual indexing runs, then you have it. And I think it automatically kind of syncs. So any new products that are indexed, that are added also get added to the index.
Nice. And I like that it stays pretty fresh too, so you don't include the older products and you're always trying to push, the newer ones that are out there.
Yeah. So yeah, once we actually had the index, I think then like, that's what allowed just AI assist to kind of do its thing. And which was again, which was great. But again, if somebody forgot to click it, and like you said, there's a lot of different types of like users in the CMS. Some are freelancers, so they don't know that they should be adding this. Some are regular editors, and again, just because of the volume that they're trying to achieve and crank out articles, they just may forget. Um, so yeah, I think now going to the function again, I think getting started with functions was super easy. Like create a folder, we kind of our studio right now it's completely separate. We don't have it mixed like in a monorepo with our front end. But I think running the Sanity CLI commands just to generate like the blueprints and the package.json, I think it was pretty easy to get this kind of stood up. So this is really the function. It's yeah, like 70 lines. We're importing the Sanity client and the Sanity functions library. And then the handler really just does the heavy lifting of, setting the data set, um, grabbing the embeddings index URL, think, initiating the client. This is all pretty boilerplate. And then this is where the meat and the magic of the function kind of happen. We extract plain text from the portable text body. Again, just to have it like, because we have such a mixture of blocks, like some are social media embeds, some are paragraphs and custom blocks and stuff like that. So this actually just boils it down and joins it. So you just have like a string to work with. Then we extract the text, some logging, and then we just make the fetch to the embeddings index. Again, nothing too crazy here. We're just passing the body in the body text and then asking for 4 results back. And then, yeah, based on what we get back, we just make sure that we have some stuff to work with. And then we just write it back into the related products field.
It's so simple.
Yeah, I feel like there's more error handling than actual code, like to actually do the fetching of like related products. And I think the real magic is when you actually see like what it comes back with. Because I think there've been plenty of instances where initially, like when you see the products that it chooses, you kind of like, oh, is that really why it, well, why did it choose that product? But then when you kind of like reread the text that was given, like sometimes it even goes in depth as like, an artist that's from a certain city, and then it'll find another artist that's from the same city. So like, yeah, if they mention like Kendrick Lamar, and we don't necessarily, and we have products from him, but if they mention artists that we don't carry products, it'll somehow still figure out like, all right, well, it mentions this city, and in the product description of this other artist, vinyl or CD, it mentions the city. So then like, oh, okay, it can pick up kind of like that context and associate it. It's pretty
That's
wild.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like what I was saying before, how it like AI sometimes replaces things that we can do, but this just goes like another level beyond, where it's finding these relationships that an editor probably isn't going to, be looking for.
Yeah.
And that results in selling more products. They see like, oh, cool, this is, from Cincinnati or whatever. I'm gonna click and add this to cart.
Yeah, it's really wild. I think once, again, sanity functions was the thing that we were like, we were waiting, waiting for the sanity, like the spring release date, because like that was like the number one thing we were just like, we can't wait till this comes out. And yeah, just it kind of inspires us to figure out like, all right, well, what other automations can we build uh, that again are going to make somebody's job easier. Are going to help sell more products. Like I think there's like a ripple effect that we're still like trying to quantify of like how did we kind of improve both from a workflow and processes standpoint, but then also from just revenue and like optimizations, shaving shaving 5 minutes off of one person's workflow is one thing, but shaving 5 minutes off the entire company, like, and everybody who's who's in the CMS, like it adds up.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's huge. No, I love to see it. So, given that like this does save a lot of time and it wasn't that much code, why didn't you spin this up using something else? Because, functions aren't anything specific to Sanity per se. Like you can go, spin up a Lambda or something like that. So like why did you wait for functions to come out to implement this?
Great question. I think ultimately going back to just like you said, the cognitive load of having to manage all these different pieces, and like again, AI assist did kind of like work, and I think that's the approach that we've been kind of taking. Like instead of kind of going all in and spinning up all these different things, we're just kind of incrementally like. And again, I think we're a pretty small team. Like my team is only I think like 8 or 9 engineers on the content side. Then there's like another 8 or 9 engineers on like the commerce side. But I think like incrementally again, AI assist definitely it worked. And like with such a little lift of just having to define, here's the prompt, here's the fields to analyze. And once we saw that, like, oh yeah, this gets us there. But again, I think over time realizing that like, oh yeah, like wait a minute, there are still gaps. So I think that's when it really became about like, all right, well, how do we kind of like plug those gaps of, ideally every article should have related products. Um, then that's when we started exploring like, all right, like we could spin up all those different things. Again, use another webhook to fire another, Lambda. Like we could have done that, but I think that's already when we had discovered that, functions was on the way. And I think that's when it really became like, if we're a month out, does it make sense to kind of spin up all this infrastructure and like another repo, another thing to manage, when in a couple of weeks, literally, we can just add this like a couple of files into our studio repo and then just watch it happen.
Yeah, just add a package.json, an index file, and then you just like you push it and like you said, watch it happen. So no, I can totally appreciate that. Well, cool. Without further ado, we're gonna show a little demo of this process in action.
Yeah, we can just hop right here. So yeah, I already have this post. It's a fake post about Kylie Cosmetics and Nike announcing a bold new collaboration. I've kind of filled in all the required fields. And then once I hit publish, you should actually see the AI assist kind of just take over and just add the products.
Good stuff. Very cool. So, um, let me share my screen once more. So that's so easy. Like editors don't need to think about it anymore. We've looked at that you're publishing 30 to 40 articles per day. There's over 15,000 products. And when you're doing these acquisitions or, taking on different brands, you're adding more and more products, in bulk. So this is, have you heard anything from like the editors of like being stoked on this or, like what can you say about how this has improved things for that team?
Surprisingly, we haven't heard anything, but in my world, like no news is good news. I think that's the thing. It's like they don't have to worry about it anymore. So like they can actually worry about other things. They can worry about potentially writing more articles, so that we can get our averages up. They can worry about, you know, you know, anything and everything else other than this one little thing. I think it was such a minute problem to have, but we definitely wanted to figure out like we knew there was a way that we could just take this off of people's plates. I think that was the ultimate, like, however long it took is too long. They don't need to worry about that. Like we as engineers have the ability to, you know, connect the different pieces, apply the logic wherever necessary, and just yeah, like and just keep it moving. Just move on with your day.
Yeah, yeah, that's well said. It is something that like it's not a primary task of like the editing process. It's like the secondary thing of finding related stuff and in maybe smaller systems without as many products or whatever, you can automate this a different way with like references. But because the system is so big, it's something that wasn't automated before, and it is now. So really cool to see that. We can check this one off and okay, last question for you. This is something I was asked in one of my interviews with Sanity, is that if you had to describe Sanity in as few words as possible, how would you do that?
As few words as possible. Sanity is there's the answer I'm gonna give and the answer I want to give. Uh, Sanity is structure. And by that, I just mean it makes you just really think about what your content is, how you're trying to represent it. It makes you just, take a step back and look holistically at, you know, what is this thing I'm trying to represent? Um, and then again, when you have the unique problem of having multiple outlets, multiple clients and front ends, you know, what's a way I can do it that can be most applicable to all those scenarios? So whether it's content getting consumed in a mobile app or on a website or getting syndicated and consumed via, third party platforms. Because again, like, the state of media today, we're trying to reach our consumers and users wherever they are. So whether that's Apple News or, some other platform. Um, so yeah, I think it definitely it's made it super easy also to just go from, proof of concept. Once you have the schema and can define the document, that's it. You can hit the ground running, import stuff, create new stuff. Um, the answer I wanted to give though, uh, Sanity is insane. I think, yeah, people try to shy away from the pun, but it's insane, like what it does and what it can do, and just how efficient it can make teams, no matter how big or small. I think that's ultimately what we've realized. I think, yeah, last year when we were shopping for a new CMS, and when we took a look at Sanity, it immediately we didn't have to think about what it would it do what we need now. It was more about like, this is going to be able to future proof us so that no matter what we need to build, we know we have the ability to build
Love it. You're hired. That was amazing.
it.
That's huge. Thank you so much for this. Thanks for taking us through the workflow. For anybody that's watching, if any of this has resonated with you, we can put together custom demos so we can hear what you're doing. You know, put something together so we can tailor it to you, or go check out Docs. That's a great way to get started too. Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time to share this workflow with everybody. It is really cool to see.
Yeah, no, awesome. Again, thank you so much for allowing us to build cool stuff on your platform, and then yeah, just kind of showcase it. I think that's really the power also of just being able to see what people have been able to cook up with Studio.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. This was amazing. We'll talk later.
All right, thanks everyone.